the smell of grass and leather. There were days when we'd play too. We'd cross the lines when the sun would shine and make our dreams come true. I had a glove on my hand and a girl in the stands. She stole my heart like a hit and run. It seems the world was so much simpler back then. We was just out there for fun. I pray for someone to hold your hand, and baseball in the summer, someone to walk with you when this world grows cold. Baseball in the summer, baseball in the summer.
30 years is a really, 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 really long time, except that our guest on today's podcast looks like he can still fit into his Brock baseball stuff that's sitting behind him there. It is the shortstop of the Brock Badgers, Ryan Thompson. Ryan, how have you been?
Well, very good, Mike. Thanks for asking. It's I can't believe it's been 30 years already, but time flies, I guess. But I guess first off, thank you. Thanks for putting this all together. I was excited, I guess, a couple of years ago when you reached out and this whole thing was going to be happening, and unfortunately COVID hit. But so thanks for the effort. Thanks for the time. Thanks for putting this all together. I've been enjoying the podcast that you've been putting out, and yeah, they've been fun. I've learned a few things that I forgot about, like the cut drill, which was fun, but it's good. It's good. Can't complain.
Well, much like the sun rising, Colin Tyler will always be there to remind you of it. That's all I have to say about that.
Oh yeah. No doubt.
So yeah, it's it's great. We got caught up with today Coach Kemp and Chris Peters yesterday. So Ryan, I think 30 years seems like a snap of a finger at times, and it seems like decades. But before we kind of go through what you've been doing since, I think you had did you have two tours of duty with the Brock team? Did you play in the first year and then come back at another point? Is that how that went?
I came back at the end and decided to give it, I guess, another go. I was actually kind of toying with hockey between, I was with Polino and I think Mark French, I think, was a coach at one point. So I was kind of toying with that a little bit in between. And then my last year there, I was like, well, let's go back to baseball and see how it pans out. And I think we ended up going to Oakland University in Detroit. I think we had an exhibition game against them. And yeah, it was fun. It was fun to get back into it. It was fun to see the guys. And unfortunately, it didn't work out. But yeah, it was good, though. It was fun to see the guys again and get back up the field and do all that.
It'd be interesting to talk about someone who had a hiatus in between times in blue and red here. But Ryan, why don't we start off just with before you were even at Brock University, where'd you grow up, and how did you get? It sounds like you're into hockey and a bunch of different things. How did you end up developing a love for sports?
So I think just kind of growing up in the country area out here in Flamborough and being on not a huge size property, but a decent enough property where you can get out of the ball glove and throw the ball around and tag it into some ground balls or fly balls, and just having some young kids do the survey where you just kind of gravitate to grabbing your hockey stick and getting on the roads and playing road hockey, right? And or going to the local diamond and hitting the baseballs out. We had like those wooden bats and tennis balls, and you felt like hitting home runs was fun in the ballpark, right? So just hanging out with the local kids and just playing sports and getting on the BMX bike and making jumps and just being a kid, really. And I think probably just playing more than two sports and just being active, really. I keep on telling my kids, like, it's time to get off the iPad, like, go out and do something in the backyard, right? So, but anyway, so that's kind of like, I guess in my younger days, I was constantly on the go. I was constantly outside. I was constantly missing dinner because I was playing road hockey or baseball. So that's kind of where it I guess it stemmed from, really. So, yeah.
And did you get into did you get into organized sports at some point? Where'd you start?
Yeah. Just a regular Canadian boy just playing hockey, baseball. And baseball, start off with T-ball, and then eventually went into rep baseball in Campbellville. So I think Coach Dennis was there. A few of the Dennis boys were there. I think Ray Dennis ended up having a good career with down in the States, and they eventually played with the Guelph Royals, and ended up playing in Milton rep, and then I guess down the road, I think I ended up in Burlington at some point with Coach Bruce Evans, and all that. So it's kind of all over the map a little bit, but I think when anything with rep ball and it's you and all the other guys too, you're just trying to find that fit. You're trying to get some playing time, and you want to go and you want to play, right? I mean that's what you want to do at the end of the day. You don't want to be you don't want to be not playing, right? So anyway, so that's where that kind of went. So yeah, I played rep ball, played rep hockey growing up. That's kind of just what I did when I was younger, and obviously high school hockey and all that other stuff. High school baseball, actually, ironically, was before I left. It was the first year they put in at Waterdown High School hardball, so that was kind of neat. As I was leaving, they brought in a hardball program, so that was kind of nice. So I got to play that one last year before I left on the university at Rock. So.
Well, that's it's good. Obviously the sport was exploding at that time. We're talking 92, 93, 94, back of the Blue Jays winning. And what led you to go to?
I remember.
Yeah.
I remember areas and getting in the vehicle and driving to Toronto when they won. And high-fiving everyone on the 403, driving the vehicle into Toronto. So yeah, so definitely some interest.
What led to your decision to go to Brock? Was there a program you were going to take, or had you applied elsewhere? Do you remember what led you there?
Just a general like everyone else does. You look at your three universities and you kind of put your money into them and see kind of which one accepts you. And I think I got accepted all three. I think it was ironically it was weird. It's Queens, Laurentian, and Brock, and then. I don't know what happened. I think for me, being from a smaller town and coming from like a smaller high school, I think finding a university that was a little bit more, I guess, smaller and a little bit more community and felt more like home, I guess, when I did eventually go down and visit the university, it just felt like a better fit than going to a larger university, I think, at the end of the day. And that's kind of, I think, the main reason why I ended up at Brock. I like St. Catharines. It was a smaller town. Brock University was a smaller university. It just had a better feel for me. So I think that's kind of where I think how that kind of played out. So,
do you remember
yeah.
were you in residence first year, or you?
Yeah, I was. I ended up in downtown student residence. Like with the Viper room attached to it, and like big bucks down the road, and all the other stuff. So I was kind of, isolated from, I guess, when you all the other friends and stuff, they were all over the place. I was downtown St. Catharines taking the bus in, but we had I think it was Chili Peppers at the time, Gordon Shooters, and I ended up going to the pizza place every night after the bar, to get a slice. So it was a good spot to be. It wasn't too bad, But downtown residence was nice, so it was good. It was good.
That's good. And do you remember what you took remember what program you were in when you first started?
Yeah, I ended up in phys ed. And I remember just kind of like in the first week of school, or first week, and then a month, and it's kind of like thinking to myself, well, what am I doing in this Rudolph Laban dancing through the Swiss Alps kind of course? And it just wasn't working for me. I just remember that. No offense, I mean, phys ed was a good program, but it just wasn't for me, and I just. That kind of set me back a little bit, and I was kind of like, oh man, I don't know what I'm going to do. But obviously, the best thing that happened was that sport management program. As soon as that hit, with I think Cheryl was a professor, Brett Fott, and those professors there, it was night and day. At that point, I loved going to class, loved going to lecture, I loved doing the assignments, and it was a real a flick of the switch moment for me, because phys ed was not a program that I was interested in probably in the first months I got there at Brock. So thank God the following year sport management came into play. So that worked out well for me anyway.
You're not the only person who's had that feedback. And do you remember how you heard about the baseball program? Is that something where did that come through the Burlington connection, or did one of the coaches reach out, or was it just some other way that you connected with?
I'm trying to, I mean, it's probably been over 30 years, because I'm just trying to figure out if I was playing with the Burlington Brants that summer before I went to Brock, or if it was the Dundas Chiefs with Fletch that summer before we ended up going to Brock. I can't remember which one it was. At some point, it must have been a conversation with either Fletch or Brian Simmons and Nate and those guys, saying that there's a program at Brock, a baseball program at Brock, and that had to be through that kind of grapevine of all the guys kind of talking at baseball. Once we figured out what university everyone was going to that day, Brock's putting a program together, and that's awesome. Let's give it a shot. So
anytime Simmons is going to be the brand ambassador, we're all in trouble. So
yeah.
So you had some exposure to some of the players before training camp.
Yeah.
And you played with Matt Fletcher in summer ball. That's correct.
Yeah. Yeah, it must have been maybe the Dundas Chiefs I played for before I went to Brock. It must have been maybe the year before that. It was probably with Coach Evans with the Burlington Brants. All the years just keep mashing together.
Interesting. Was Matt always
firefighter?
He's not the most popular player with our opponents. His name keeps coming up in the Mag podcast as someone they wanted to deep six. And
Matt Fletch was a good ball player. He was very locked in and dialed in on his position, and he was good at it. And he was obviously you wanted him on his team. He's not a guy that you want to play against for sure. So from what I remember, Fletch was a good ball player, and playing with Simmons and Nate and those guys even in Burlington too before Brock. I think at the end of the day, I think the '90s in baseball and it was a different game. I think the kids, we were younger, obviously, but we were talented. We had a talented baseball team, talented kids around the area playing baseball. It was because I think the '80s demonstrated the fact that we're outside all the time and playing road hockey or baseball or having something in our hand to keep us in shape and keep our hand-eye coordination in focus and in check. So I think when our team kind of came together at Brock, it was obviously it gelled, it worked, and it was fun to see how it all came together, really. How everyone kind of picked Brock, it was it's neat. But anyway.
Yeah, the university owes us a big royalty check at some point for all the tuition we've sent through over the years. But so your first exposure to the competitive aspect of it would have been training camp.
Yes. Yep.
Do you remember what your first day of training camp felt like? There's a lot of players there, and
I can't remember. It must have been because I was out here in Flamborough, and I think Dix was in Stony Creek. And Fletch must have been. So I think we were carpooling at one point and down into there. So we had to be there a couple weeks before school started, right? So training camp was there. And I can't remember the first day kind of rolling up to the park and getting out of the car in the morning and kind of stretching it out. And everyone was kind of throwing the ball in the street before anything kind of started. So it was kind of, all right, well, might as well warm up, right? So it was just, it was good, but... Yeah, so training camp was tough. I mean, I have to admit, that was kind of the first reality check of playing real baseball, hey, you know what, there's definitely a standard here. Obviously, when Coach McRae showed up, but even having all the guys there and just wanting to compete, and to be honest with you, I don't think there was any real I think everyone was kind of on the same page and working hard together. There's no real animosity toward anyone, and it all seemed to fit kind of smoothly together. Oddly enough, of all the teams I've ever been a part of, everyone seemed to gel. Everyone seemed to be cheering each other on, and I think after that first couple of days of 8 hours of baseball, and they were like, okay, we're not in Kansas anymore, right? So we're everyone's dialed in, working hard, and everyone just has each other's back. And yeah, it was fun to see. It was fun to watch. It was all coming together, right? So it's good.
Yeah, I think we bonded very quickly because we were just trying to survive camp.
Yeah,
at a
it's
certain point,
exactly it. Total survival, right? Like, doing the lunges and and then running the the light poles or the foul poles, which I was doing quite a lot of. So
well,
well, it was good.
I could do without the lunges, to be truthful, but
Yeah.
you know, now in the middle infield, it would have been a lot of people you're very familiar with. Marcus Soyan was a Burlington guy, and Brian Simmons was a Burlington guy. Larry Houston got moved from. He informed me the other day, and it's funny, I recruited the Houstons to come to Brock, and had played with Larry and Daryl before.
Yeah.
I had no idea that the coaches wanted to make Larry an outfielder, for crying out loud. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, maybe they got the wrong twin there, because Daryl was an outfielder for sure.
Yeah.
But I think in the middle infield, it would have been fairly obvious fairly quickly that there was kind of a core group there. But a couple of new faces showed up. So we had Jeff Hoover and Steve Vatour that really changed the dynamic of the infield. Do you remember did you feel that you were going to make the team, or did you feel like you were on the razor's edge all the way through camp, wondering if you were going to make it or get cut?
I think just the whole, obviously once kind of McRae showed up, and once that precedent was set of kind of his expectations on what he wanted from his guys and his ball team, that I think that kind of put everyone in their place. And it wasn't necessarily I'm on edge. It was like, all right, time to pull up the socks and I'm more of a like nose to the grindstone, kind of watch me play as opposed to talk, right? So I was just doing my thing, just like trying to get hits, playing small ball, trying to steal bases whenever, if we're hitting, inter squad game, and just trying to make plays, really, just trying not to be on the bad side of anything, to be honest with you. So, honestly, the guys that came in, like Hoover, like I just remember he was like a bulldog, man. He was a big, strong guy, and he could just crush the ball. Like they were all the guys that were brought in were good ball players. So, like that's gonna happen. I mean, you see that with World Juniors in hockey, right? Like, I mean, they all want the best kid, playing on Team Canada. Does it always work? Maybe not. I don't know, but it's just it's one of those things where you're competing regardless of what you're doing anyway. So it really didn't bother me. I was just kind of doing my thing. I was just trying to, compete every day, work hard, and try and be a good teammate and get along with the guys. Yeah, I'm not the most boisterous guy, I know that, but it was just kind of, just going with it and working hard. That's really all you can do, and try not to upset any of the coaching staff, or at least have them talk to you, right, or get on it. So
no, it's like I think as we get through these, we've been finding out that a lot of us just didn't want to let Coach McRae down, right, at a certain point.
100%, yeah. That's basically what it comes down to. You don't want to let the coach down. Like I know that, the few times like where I know my role was like, if I could hit a ball to the gap or get base hits, I can maybe leg it out for a double or something with my speed. And I was probably more of like a sacrifice guy, laying down a bunt to get on the base, and you never wanted to miss a sign. Like I think I missed a sign once. I remember coming back in the dugout, and I just got the eyes, the eyes from Coach McRae kind of staring at me, and like, oh, I must have missed something on that play. Like, so you're always kind of under that pressure of just like, man, I want to do so good. I want to be here. I want to be the guys. It's going to be such a good team. I love where this program is going, because you could feel that there was this big thing of it's coming together, right? Like we're doing all these cool drills, and I'm learning so much stuff. Like remember the hockey bag and this wood paddle comes out, and I'm like, what is this thing? With all the fingers on the back, like. But to me, that was like a challenge. It was like, all right, hit me some balls. Let's see how this goes, right? That's it's just soft hands at that point. You just got the paddle out in front. You're sucking in your body, and you're making plays. Like I loved it. I love that stuff of doing, like learning that stuff. It might not come across that way, but at times. But I like the challenge of that stuff. And obviously, like anyone else, if they're saying that you're not number one, or you'd want to prove that you are number one, right? So that's really that's, at the end of the day, that's kind of what it comes down to, right? You're kind of competing, but you're competing against yourself and trying to be the best you can be, right, on the field. So
Yeah, I think as I talked to the players, we all just really appreciated the amount of work. I mean, it was hard to balance school a little bit with it because I had already been at university for 3 years at that point. So
right, yeah,
it was it was a big adjustment just in terms of your course load and the things they don't tell you. Like maybe it'd be good in the first term to
yeah.
go down to 3.5 or 3 courses as opposed to 5, and those kinds of things. But um, do you remember, like during training camp, were you kind of sticking to the Burlington guys, or were you starting to get to know some of the new guys that were hard to miss?
I remember playing catch with Tall Todd. We called him Tall Todd. He was big. he was a big dude, right? So I remember playing catch with Todd and kind of gravitating to him, like, because he was more of a quiet guy, and laid back, and I don't know if he remembers that, but I remember playing a lot of catch with him. I mean, but yeah, I mean, I was talking to Fletch and Dixon and Bots and those guys, and we had a good connection, and I thank Dixon for picking me up a few times for ball practice, in downtown student residence there, because I was kind of on the outskirts. I felt a little bit, which in hindsight probably should have been where I should have probably gone, like, forced my way in somewhere with the ball team, which would have been a little bit easier than kind of being downtown on my own, right? And having that camaraderie and having that, well, even that just after a ball practice, just going for pizza or just chilling out, maybe that time, I'm sure we're having a few beers after too, but just to unwind, because the tension of the whole thing was it was intense, right? But I liked it, but anyways.
I get the impression, it's. So do you remember your first interactions with Coach Kemp? Because he would have been heavy on working with all the hitters for sure.
Yeah, I remember doing a lot of hitting off the tee or in the cage, but for him, I was always trying to find all, like, little insights and little tips on like, how to hit a little bit better or whatever. But I remember his comment was always, what do I gotta do, coach? Like, it was like hips, hands. So hips, then your hands come through. Hips and hands. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. So you're working on that all the time off the tee, and you're trying to get your hips going, your hands coming through. So it was a good little tidbit stuff. Where Coach Kemp would say, like, little tidbits like that. You try and pick up, and you would try and obviously put that in your game, right? But yeah, Coach Kemp. Actually, I think, was it Richie there was saying, I remember the white Cadillac now that you mentioned that. If Coach Kemp coming out of that car, actually.
Yeah, he had
It was
the white Cadillac, and he just kind of looked like a baseball star, which is what he was, right?
Yeah, it's awesome.
And,
yeah, like, who would have thought? Like, your first year of a program, and yeah, it was cool to have someone like that around on the team, and someone that knew a lot of baseball, and knowing that, I'm just trying to pick his brain on any little thing that I can get from him to try and improve my game, right? So I enjoyed it too. But was it Coach LePage that had the red Jeep? Who's the coach that had the red Jeep?
No, that was Coach McRae.
Was that McRae's Jeep? Red one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he knows how to make an entrance. All the coaches did, really. I mean,
Cadillac, red Jeep, yeah.
Topping and Wayne Briggs Jr. drove vans, as I remember. And,
that's right, yeah.
Coach LePage was. I don't remember what Jeff Lounsbury drove. Coach Lounsbury.
Neither do I. Yeah.
I had fun. You guys haven't seen it yet. We did the Chris Peters podcast where he did that imitation of Lounsbury at Nationals, and about people breaking into Jeff's car.
Yeah.
I'll be damned if I remember what kind of car it was, but it's. So, I think that's one of the things that the players noticed right away is we had lots of coaches too. We had 5, I think.
That was good.
Everyone's kind of got their own Wayne Briggs Jude story and their own Mark LePage story or their own Gerald Kemp story or their own Mike or their own Jeff story. Probably not going to get a lot of Tim Topping stories out of the infielders. And, but do you remember...
Yeah, he was quite a nice guy. I remember a little bit of him, but obviously he was dealing with the pitchers and stuff. But definitely someone you can definitely go to and talk to. If you need anything. an unwinding or just to have someone just just to talk to. But I remember Wagesburg do that. I guess they were doing like the 40 dash or whatever. So like he had the stop clock, and we were all kind of lined up there, and we're seeing how fast our 40 was. And I remember he was hitting the clock and doing the 40-yard dash, and I remember that from center field out, and little stuff like that. You remember doing.
I think everyone remembers Wayne's mustache. That's the big
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, Wayne out. Yeah, yeah.
So do you remember, making the team get your uniform? You remember that day?
You know what? Like, I remember looking at the list. I think you posted on the back of that. There's a building right behind home plate. It was just kind of posted up there. And I remember kind of scouring the list and seeing my name. And I was like, really? Like I was, I think it was just, after that 2 weeks of grinding, basically hell and back. Which what? It was challenging. It was fun. Like that was, for anyone that made the team, it was quite the accomplishment, right? Like it was. Kudos to everybody that stuck with it and made that first year Brock team, because I think, that definitely obviously sets precedent for what Brock baseball is probably to this day, so I think everyone can hang their hat on that and be proud of that. I think that's something I think that everyone should be proud of for sure. But I remember obviously when you see your name on the list, I was ecstatic, right? I think I probably went back to the residence and called my dad or whatever and said, "Hey, I made the team," or whatever. Like, yeah, it's exciting for sure.
And the next round of Gourds and Cheaters is on me.
Yeah, that might be Gourds and Cheaters. Yeah.
Do you have any specific memories of the first year season? The traveling to the States, or just the intensity of it? We were practicing or playing 7 days a week. I think we were.
I guess when you make the team there and you realize that you're playing, all those games in such a condensed schedule, and even just like playing, I was just so excited to go play baseball in the States. To be honest with you, I was like, wow, this is awesome, and my first experience, what I remember is getting in the vans and then getting into St. Bonaventure, and I remember the drive into the campus, and obviously it was fall time, and like the leaves are turning. I'm like, wow, man, this campus is unbelievable. Like, and then I think you drive around, you drive down into where the ball diamond is, and then you get out of the van, you look, and you got like the rolling hills in the background, and this immaculate ball diamond. And I'm like, wow, man, I don't want to go anywhere. I could be here 24/7, 365 days. I'm good. And then get on that field and start playing and just running on it and being in the dugout. It was like it was unreal. I loved it. Like every second of it. It was awesome to play on that field. It just elevated your game to the next level. At least that I felt anyway.
Yeah, it was. St. Bonaventure was quite an experience. Beautiful there, the mountains, and and you had a really difficult role on the team. Actually, a lot of times, Ryan, I remember that you would come in when Steve Vatour would move from shortstop to close games out, and so you're coming in a key situation from a focus perspective, because you're going to have to make plays defensively while we're trying to keep a game, on the right side of the ledger. I mean, Steve wasn't coming into games where we were losing. So, mentally, did you find that difficult, or, tell me what goes through your mind where you're going to get into the game, and it's really not about offense at that point. It's really about playing lockdown defense at short.
Yeah. Well, ironically, that was kind of my thing. Like I liked playing defense. I was kind of like the weirdo when I was on the field. It was like, come on, give me the ball, hit the ball to me. Like I was one of those kind of guys that's like, you're not getting the ball by me, right? So it was, I enjoyed it. I mean, yeah, obviously from a standpoint, would anyone want to be in the game for the whole game? Sure, but at the same time too, you're part of a team. I like the team that we had. I like the guys we had, and I think if you're on the bench and you're coming in a situation like that, McCray and the coaches are always stressed and be ready, right? Be ready. So whether you're getting up and you're running down the sidelines or you're doing whatever to stay ready, that's what you do, man. Welcome to university baseball, right? So it didn't bother me all that much. I took it as a challenge. Another thing that, you know what? All right, no problem. I'll go in. I'll make a play. I'll get the out. No big deal. Let's move on. You know, it was just kind of like one of those things where, yeah, you deal with it and you give it 100% and make plays. So that's it. That's all you can do, really.
Yeah, season was very interesting. I mean, we had a very successful season and obviously did well against Canadian teams who were widely different in talent levels. U of T and McMaster and Durham College, all top notch. George Brown and others maybe not.
Just to get back to St. Bonaventure's there, that I think we had the doubleheader. I do remember when McRae got thrown out of the game there for all the umps trying to figure out that we didn't know how to throw a strike anymore, and everyone getting upset. The Canadian boys are coming down there and trying to win a ball game against a D1 school. But I think it was the second game where they were, oddly enough, I think the right-hand hitters were doing batting practice, and I was over on like the second base side on the infield, and we were doing ground balls. So we're trying to time that I'm getting ground balls while they were pitching for hitting, and there's a few times you're like, oh, okay, it looks like the guy's gonna pitch. I gotta get ready for a ground ball coming to me, and anyways, I see the pitch, the ball's coming to me. I go to get the ground ball. I get the ground ball. I turn. I hear the crack of the bat. And I'm like, oh, man, it gets me square right in the back, right in the middle of my back. Boom.
Cool.
I heard a thud. And I heard the Bonnie bench laughing. Like the guys on the bench were laughing from Bonnie. And I'm like, oh, don't go down. Don't go down. And I walked away. Man, they got me right in the middle of the back, right beside my spine, man. And I was just like, I was in pain for the rest of the game. But I was just like, go figure. Just stuff like that, and you're just like, yeah, well, move on from it.
You can't show it. It's not super.
Can't show it. Yeah, it's just one of those things, right?
Yeah.
Some Canadian kid, play hockey. We can take shots, right? Like it is what it is.
I can promise you, St. Bonaventure, after that doubleheader, we're not laughing anymore because really we got jobbed in the first game by the umpires.
Yeah,
and it's. I think people thought we were going to be a joke, and then when we showed up and we weren't.
Yeah,
it changed everyone's attitude immediately.
Yeah.
They got it in the first inning, and then it was just scramble to save face, right? So
yeah,
that's interesting.
I agree with that. Like I like get back to Bonnie, but I just love playing on that diamond, and like to this day I still have a very good memory of ripping a hit up the middle off the big pitcher. So I loved it. Like it was awesome. I smile on that every time. Yeah.
I think always I would have loved to have taken the mound there, except then I would have been subjected to that umpiring and I would have lost.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't have. I think the ump would have got a ball for sure.
Yeah, we used our more composed pitchers for that. They're like, we better keep Mike away from the umpire. It's going to be on the front page of the newspaper here. So the season kind of goes along, and we're pretty successful. Do you start to kind of make relationships in the team that are different than the Burlington guys? You kind of start to meet some of the other folks like an Andy Tinish or
everyone knows. Yeah, talking to the Houston brothers and and Hoover and Tinish. I mean, I know he didn't want to play catch with Tinish because he threw he threw a heavy ball, man. You did not want to catch that ball in the palm. We're always trying to get that thing in the webbing, right? So there's some good funny things on that. But man, your hand was killing after if you're playing catch with him. But Baruch and Colin Tyler and obviously a little bit tighter with I think Dixon, and maybe Spots and Flash. But to be honest with you, I think if you really had to look at it, I think everyone just got along with everyone. To be honest with you, it just seemed to be a group where you're on a team and everyone had each other's back, and there was no, like I said, no animosity, and everyone was just working hard and having fun playing baseball. And I think we knew the expectation of the Coach McRae, and the rest of the coaches, and you knew that you had to perform at that level, or you're not going to be playing, you're going to be out of the lineup, or you're going to get the look, right? So it's good.
Famous McRae look. If I could picture of it. And I was saying to Gridge, because Gridge was talking about getting thrown out at the plate, trying to go home at St. Bonaventure, and Mike would always stand on the very front step or the front corner of the dugout. So there was no way to get in the dugout and not have to go by him. And, that was a point of consternation for everybody. It was just kind of like, don't want to let him down because I have to walk right by him and I'm going to feel it.
Yeah.
And do you remember, what were your memories of going to Montreal during referendum weekend?
I didn't go. And I can't remember how it all played out, but there's a conversation. It must have been at Community Park in St. Catharines. I don't know if it was after the Canisius game. Remember the Canisius game when we lost? I think we got our punch kick at Community Park, and everyone had their family there.
We had to run wins.
Yeah. I guess my grandpa was at that game, and he was not happy about that. But anyways, whatever. It is what it is. But we started doing the running and stuff, and at some point, I don't remember where, I had a conversation with Coach McRae and Coach Lounsbury, and they were just basically wanting to know where I was what my thoughts were on the team, and what I was thinking, and at some point I just said, well, that's it. See you later, boys. And that's where it kind of all went. Like, I just kind of unfortunately just kind of walked away from it. So,
Ryan, I don't remember that at all. And you think I would have had some administrative thing to do, or everyone would have had a conversation with me about it, but I have no recollection. And Ted and I joke all the time. Like, I'm like, did I go to Smart Alex too many times when I was at school? Because I don't remember some things, and that I certainly don't. But
dude, honestly, I can't remember. Like, I'm foggy after 30 years too. I don't remember. I don't remember when that was, or I remember going to Bonaventure, and I remember doing games and stuff, and it's unfortunately that's the direction that it went, and it's just certain things, I guess, that happen. Whether it would be like the cut drill and a few other things, where you're just kind of like, like, I want to be part of the team. I want to be here, and whatever it takes for me to stay on the team, I'm willing to do. Sacrifice bunt, or lay down the bunt, or come in as a pinch runner and steal bases, like whatever it was, didn't really bother me. But it's just one of those things where I don't know. I guess maybe young teenage kid, and just kind of like I said, maybe isolated from the team a little bit, and kind of going downtown St. Catharines. But hey, whatever. It's all good.
You know what? 30 years, none of it really matters, because everyone contributed to, and our championship ring comes from having survived 1 year. To have a program that has now lasted 30 years. And, that's, the coaches were also young. I think this is a thing that, other than, Briggs Jude, maybe Tim Topping to a certain extent. But and Daryl had been coaching for a while, but Mike and Jeff were young coaches and learning a little bit about the difference between generations of players. We come from a slightly different. We're certainly different than our kids. I will say that our kids operate in if they were exposed to some of the two-a-days and some of the tactics that we were exposed to at Brock, I don't think they'd allow them to run those types of practices anymore. But, it also was a time where authority was kind of unquestioned, right? A head coach would say, this is the way we do things. And our job as a player is to be respectful of that and just do what we're told. And it's a different time now. So I'm sure that there was some sort of rationale behind it, but it surprises me to hear that. I had no idea. It's a shame, because I really think the Montreal experience would have been interesting for you. It was referendum weekend, and we were playing all the French schools and 4 teams that ended up winning national championships in time. But it was colder than hell, so you probably saved yourself some freezer burn.
I heard that was cold for sure. Yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, but, obviously if I was there, I would have loved to have been there and loved to contribute to the team, whatever that would have been or whatever that would have looked like, right? But it's
It's all good. You obviously came back after a few years, so why don't we
Yeah.
talk about what happens after, in the immediate aftermath? I know there was an ultimatum given to the team that there would be a spring season, and a lot of players, a core of 7 or 8 went on, and the rest reassessed what they were doing and tried to balance out their university life.
Yeah.
What did you do after the season was over?
So I would have been, well, I obviously just kind of finished up my program, and packing up downtown student residence at the end of April there, and then heading off to work at a golf course for about, man, that was pretty much my summer job. I was pretty much running the golf course, cutting greens, and changing holes and doing all that fun stuff. So that's basically how I kind of funded the university dream, I guess. Like just kind of putting all those hours in the summer and doing all that. And then I think I was probably back playing baseball again. Like whether that was with Dundas or Burlington or even the Glenbrook Grizzlies with Coach Ellis. So, I played baseball pretty much all the way through university as well in the summer. So, and then toward the end of my university career, I even played for the Metros, St. Catherine Metros, down at Community Park, and that was a great team. Great experience. Actually, I think I heard you saying about something like, obviously we have the Houston, Daryl and Larry Houston, but I think there's the Soroshin brothers too, Bill Soroshin and Andrew Soroshin. I think that played rock baseball as well. And I played with Bill, I think with the St. Catherine's Metros, and along with Dan Pino, who I think played. So, we had a good team and a fun team in St. Catherine's there. And I think the reason why I played St. Catherine's because I was at Brock doing some summer school to kind of finish up my university career. So it worked out well.
That's great, Ryan. And what did you? I know that you went back and played a bit of another part of a year with the baseball program, but after you got your degree, what led you on your current career path? What did life look like?
I ended up getting that sport management degree. I think at the time we were like one of like in Canada, like 10 people that graduated in sport management. Like it was like the first graduating class, from all of Canada for sport management back in, and I've definitely dated myself now, but 99, right? So I ended up doing an internship with the Toronto Raptors and Toronto Maple Leafs with Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment in Toronto. So I was down there doing community events for the Raptors at the time when like Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady and Muggsy Bogues and all those guys were there. So that was a unique experience for sure. And doing community events, player appearances, and I was kind of the main guy doing charitable donations for the Toronto Raptors. So I was handing out autographed baseballs and autographed jerseys, and then sending that off to various charities for fundraising. So that was a fun experience. So that was directly after university, trying to land a job there, and I ended up getting a job, ironically, at Skydome at the time, and it was selling skyboxes. So I was selling skyboxes at the Skydome for a while, and that was tough because that was right after the Blue Jays won, and there was some tough baseball in Toronto for a lot of years, right? So it was challenging to sell those things out again. So ended up working for American Hockey League for Hamilton Bulldogs, and that was a fun ride too. We had affiliation of the Edmonton Oilers and the Montreal Canadiens, and but it was like every year working there, you're like, oh, are the Oilers going to leave town? Is Montreal going to leave town? Is the affiliation going to leave? So you're always like on edge again of like, man, am I going to have a job next year? Like, what's going on? So that led me to do a few courses on the fire side of I guess building my resume on wanting to, I guess, become a firefighter, which had like a little bit more of a career, a little bit of a pension, benefits and all that fun stuff. So it was definitely something I was looking into, and the career on that is you got to really build your resume. You got to take all these side courses, whether it be high angle rope, whether it be ice water rescue, confined space, hazmat, like all this stuff. You're building your resume so that you can apply with 1,200 other people and hopefully get hired. The 12 guys that get hired full time. So that that was the experience for a while, and then it ended up. I eventually got hired. I was a firefighter in Hamilton, and so I've been doing that for the last 18 years full time, and captain. So it was kind of obviously a good career. It's very much same camaraderie with with your group, and very much a team working together, and so yeah, it was that's where I am. I have a career now anyway, so it's a good career. Can't complain.
Yeah, Chris Peters is also a firefighter, and he's
Yeah.
now. Well, we can all cough real loud. He's retired and living in Florida and Jupiter. But he talked about delivering a baby on the job, and and just some of what you see. So I'm sure that you've seen a lot in the course of being a firefighter, and
Yep.
I'll ask you a different kind of a question then, because we cover a lot of different subjects. We've covered some things about mental illness that you'll see in Chris's podcast and some other stuff. What were your thoughts on 9/11, given the loss of fire personnel and and policing, obviously, in New York City? But do you remember what you were thinking? Were you a firefighter at that point, or
No, that was 2000. That was 2011. Later on, 06. But I remember working. I was downtown in Hamilton at the time, working with Hamilton Bulldogs. I remember walking into must have been my boss's office, and the TV was on in the morning, and we were watching the towers. We were watching the smoke coming from the towers and watching that, and then eventually, watching them collapse. It was definitely a surreal experience that day. I vividly remember being downtown in Hamilton and the Phelps Coliseum, basically where our offices were, and watching that live on TV. It's yeah.
I think it gave people a different perspective and a different appreciation for fire services. Do you get a chance in your job now to get out in the community a fair bit and help demystify this for school age kids and whatnot?
Well, fire departments have their community initiatives, and they're always going out in the community. We do like PR events. We go to schools and talk to kids and show them the fire truck and show them equipment. Or we have like station tours where the kids come down and we get personnel dressed up, and we show them kind of what we wear and the equipment that we wear, and it's we're always kind of reaching out to them. We have like programs where Alarmed and Ready, where you can go out into the community and install smoke detectors and CO alarms, I guess, for free too, right? So it's you're always kind of, at the end of the day, that's you're there to serve and protect them, right? So you want to make sure that you're out there and communicating and talking and making sure they're testing their smoke detectors, making sure that they got their batteries all installed. So yeah, we do a lot of PR stuff for sure.
Somewhere out there, we're going to find a Ryan Thompson and a fireman calendar photo that's going to scandalously make its way out.
There was offers back in the day, and there's just no way. There's absolutely no way that I would ever, because I always thought long term, and it's happened. I've seen the ones that did the calendars, and next thing you know, hey, you remember you were Mr. July? I'm like, yeah, no thanks.
We know if your name was Grucci, you'd be in the calendar, so that's all we got to. So I think that says a lot. You're a leader within a team environment. I think those are all things that are born out of things like being on a sports team. Let me ask you this. You've got another team, your family. Tell me a little bit about, your family life in 30 years since we played together.
Yeah, well, obviously married, and I have 4 kids. So I have 3 boys and my young girl. So it's been awesome. Obviously the kids are a blessing, and um, you know, I guess they're getting bigger, and man, it's going by pretty quick. Like it's like I remember when they were born, and next thing you know, they're teenage kids. Like I just don't understand where the time goes. And I did like every other dad, I did the backyard hockey rink for 12 years, and the kids are out here, and all their friends are out in my backyard doing 3-on-3 hockey, and doing all that fun stuff, and I got involved with coaching hockey. And then my middle kid was playing baseball. We ended up winning the OBAs one year, so that was kind of fun for him. We were down in Windsor, um, so yeah, I mean, enjoying the kids, enjoying the coaching side of it, but that's kind of all come to a grinding halt now because, like I said, they're all kind of teenage kids. They're in high school, and my daughter she likes to dance, right? So there's not really much. I keep on saying, let's play baseball or hockey, but she's not into that stuff. She likes dancing. So all right, fair enough. But yeah, I mean, when the kids are younger, it's like any other dad. You teach them how to throw, how to hit, how to skate. I enjoy that part of it, and try to be involved with them, and try to coach, and because I just wasn't that parent that could be kind of in the stands, kind of just watching. I wanted to have a role and be on the bench, and be able to motivate the little guys, and get them to hopefully learn something. But so I enjoyed that side of it. I definitely miss it, to be honest with you. I mean, it's like almost like cold turkey sometimes, because it all of a sudden just ends so quick, right? Like for a lot of years, I had 3 boys in rep hockey, and I'm like, wife and I are passing each other at the door, and this tournament, that tournament, and like, man, it was. I'm actually. It sounds weird, but it actually was like, thank God COVID hit, because I'm gonna die of a heart attack. And I was like going and going and going and going. All of a sudden, boom, COVID hit. And like, wow, a break. What is this? I'm actually at home.
Yeah, it's both my daughters played rep hockey on different teams, so 6-7 nights a week, or
Yeah.
Kingston, Peterborough.
So you're busy too, then. Yeah.
Yeah, so very much what it's like to have to show up an hour before game time.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
arena's not open when you get there, so you're there at 6 in the morning,
Yep.
and all the parents sitting there shivering, sucking on a Tim's, just trying to stay warm enough. Sometimes,
Yep.
it's quite a thing to be a sports parent, and
Oh, it's a blast. I love it. Like doing the tournaments. Like we did a tournament in Buffalo, which was like that outdoor rink tournament. Man, it was awesome. Like you got you got your group of kids, and you got your family there, and it's just a fun weekend. It's a fun weekend. I love coaching, for sure.
it's funny. I think every single person that was involved with the program to date has been a coach or involved in their kids' sports or another kids' sports in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
And that continues true with the McMaster folks who, I've done 2 of them, and
Right.
Billy coached his son's hockey team, and his daughter and my daughter were, if you believe this, McMaster and a Brock guy. Our daughters were a defense pairing on a team that won the SO Cup. So it's it's an amazing coincidence. It's not a coincidence, I don't think, that every person that was touched by a program that was pretty intense at Brock has gone on to give back in some way, whether it's coaching their kids or whether it's helping out, stepping up when there's the time required. Let me ask you some sillier questions then. Are you still a fan of baseball? Do you go to games? Do you go to see the Jays? To watch it on television, or is it something that you'd rather be out doing?
Yeah, no, I'm a fan of baseball. I enjoy it. I enjoy watching the Jays. And, I follow them. I haven't gone to a Blue Jay game in a while. I think my boys, I took them when they were younger. We went, the Aldershot Go Train, and went in and watched the game, and then came back. The typical Go Train ride in. But that's usually kids like that stuff. But so I haven't been there in quite some time. But no, I am a fan. I just honestly with the four kids and just constantly was on the go and constantly doing things, and just the schedule with sports was pretty intense. So I think now that things have kind of calmed down a little bit, I wouldn't I wouldn't mind getting back into that. Going, well, hey, let's just relax and maybe go to a Blue Jay game today. Like
I
that'd
think
be
it's
nice.
a pretty good pitch to put on Andy Tinish when you see him next.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually saw Nish. I was in Burlington. Right? I was at a Thai soup place, and I ran into him. And that was years back now. But yeah, we had a good conversation. It was good to catch up a little bit. Good to see him. He hasn't changed, obviously. He's still the exact same guy that I remember from Brock. So yeah, I know it was good to see him for sure, and obviously what he's accomplished, and in his life after Brock baseball. So it's yeah, inspiring.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you whether you stay in touch with any of the guys. I mean, I have a fairly big network, but I
Yeah,
can't escape that. Obviously, it's kind of hard for the course when you
yeah.
put the program together. But have you stayed in touch with a few of the guys?
Not many. Like I ran into Fletch downtown once, probably between a fire and police thing. I remember. I think he was in a patrol car, and I had a quick chat with him before he was on his way. That was probably the only time I talked to Fletch, and I reached out to Dixon probably a couple of years ago, like when you reached out to us that we're going to do this reunion, and so that was. Other than that, like I haven't really seen anyone else or talked to anyone else, and yeah, you know what? To be honest with you, I'm looking forward to the reunion. I'm looking forward to September of just kind of getting together again and talking to all the guys. And all our stories will eventually come together. There's a lot of things that I forget and I've missed, and it'd be nice to kind of piece it all together. And figure out just exactly how it all went down. But
Yeah, there's some real myths, as you know. I mean,
yeah,
I think
always is. It's like fishing.
yeah, there is a little bit of that, but I think the more, I'm always very curious with people that I wouldn't have had a lot of contact with. Like all the pitchers, we were a pretty tight group because, for a couple of reasons. We were isolated as a position group, so we had our own coach and we kind of did our own thing. But the other reason for that is because we were all older. There was only 2 freshmen on the pitching staff out of 10. People don't
Yeah,
realize
I forgot that. Like that's one thing because you always think like it's your first year at Rock and you arrive on the ball diamond for this tryout. You think everyone's the same age as you, and you think that everyone's in their first year of university, and the reality was exactly what you just said. That's not the case. You were on your way out or last year, right? So yeah.
Yeah, and we always felt an obligation. We had to show everyone where to have a good time, which wasn't hard to find at Brock. But
Well, which was good, right? Because that I think that helped the team. That brought everyone together a little bit too, right? To have that the maturity and that little bit of that little bit of obviously older guys, and like I said, I think that the team gelled pretty quick. I think after the first week, going into that second final week or whatever, we kind of knew he was kind of sticking around. He was going to be on the team or had a pretty good shot at making the team. So it just
yeah,
seemed to come together pretty quick. And from
made it
what I
really
saw,
made it really uncomfortable when the coaches cut off. We had 6 people staying with us.
oh man,
5 of them
yeah,
got cut,
yeah,
and so Todd was thankfully one of the ones who didn't. But it was Todd and then Ted and I, and 5 people asking us whether we could have a word with the coaches to get them back on the team. It was so
well,
uncomfortable.
that
It was
would
so
definitely
bad.
be powerful. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
that'd be
but
challenging.
it's I think we're be exciting. I think you're probably going to be one of the few people who could fit into the same uniform you probably had when you were playing.
Yeah,
And hopefully we can not need to relegate ourselves to slow pitch. So hopefully we put out a functional game out there. And
I would
we'll have
hope so.
some.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can still hit a catcher, so that's probably a good
perfect.
start.
That's a good start. We
And
got a pitcher.
yeah, and I think the good thing is, Ryan, and I can say this from having the conversation with everybody, is 30 years evaporates like this. All of a sudden, it's like we're sitting in the dugout at Community Park, in between games or waiting for the game to start, having done
Yeah.
5 hours of stretching. I will always point that out to McRae that we would stretch for an ungodly amount of time. Remember how long we had to stretch before games? Holy cow. And so you had lots of opportunities to have little weird conversations with people. And I can remember having one with Jeff Hoover where I was on his case about a mathematical equation, because I always found Hoover to be like, he was a very quiet guy relatively. But I was thought, yeah, like he's like Rain, he's like a little bit of a Rain Man Einstein character in there. I bet he figures out right down to a quarter inch where he's going to be swinging on the plane of the ball, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think Jeff would always look at me like I had two heads. Every time I come to talk to him, we do these theoretical conversations about stuff. But when I wasn't pitching, I felt my job was to be loose and to be friendly. And then everyone knows it was kind of like an Italian funeral when it was the day for me to pitch, because no one spoke to me. And that was something that was true for years, like at Oshawa, at Brock, at Tecumseh, in the intercounty. When it was my day to pitch, I was just a super intense guy. So I didn't speak to anybody except the pitching coach and the catcher. And, so we all kind of learned and developed our own personalities. Let's sum it up this way. What would be one thing that you learned, through that process of making the first team that you've carried through, that's really led to, a very successful and very fulfilling life that you're leading? Minus a few baseball games you'll need to get to now. What's the one big thing that you think you learned from all of that?
Well, I think probably like discipline and effort, like just being able to, effort and just bringing your best every day, right? Like, like I mentioned, like trying on the fire department's a challenging thing, and there's a lot of highs and a lot of lows, right? On average, it takes about 2 to 5 years to get on the fire department, because there's just so many people applying for the position. So, the effort of just kind of battling through and keep on pushing through and keep on going to try and get in that job, right? And, obviously the discipline of sticking with it. You don't want to give up, right? So, look, Brock baseball had a lot of good, like little things that, I think that came out of the program, and obviously where it is today is it started off on a good footing. It started off on a good ground. It started off on a good coach that had a vision on what the team was going to be, and laid that foundation. And and like I said, Lance Gregg took that over and obviously did a great job with it too. So it's the foundation, the effort, the discipline. I mean, it's all part of it. I think I think everyone, like I said, should be proud of being on that team for the first year, and putting in that effort and that time and making that team, and having a great starting part for the program. It's great. It's look where it is now. It's I think everyone should be happy about that.
Ryan, it sounds like it was a great springboard for a life that you've put a lot of effort into, and I'm looking forward to catching up in person. And we'll there's no Viper Club, boards and shooters.
I think there's a few. Yeah, there's a few bar names that went there. It's like
Gordon Shooters is
big bucks.
Gordon Shooters is gone now. That's shocked.
Is it?
I go to St. Catharines about 6 months ago, and
I think it turned into the Honest Lawyer. I don't know.
Well, I think it did, but then I think they sold it to a condo developing corporation, which is not too shocking. But I think the Red Hot Chili Peppers still exists, if you can believe that.
No doubt.
So,
no doubt.
You being an original gangster that probably has a "Don't Serve This Guy" poster in there, we'll make it a point to get there in about 8 months' time.
Yeah, that sounds good. Well, thanks a lot, Mike. Really appreciate it, and thanks for doing this.
Thanks, awesome. Ryan. Appreciate it. Have a great night.
You too. Take care.
The smell of grass.